The first approach to Fusarium, I would say it was when I started seeing the networks that it was creating. We got very strong Fusarium, and I tried several patterns to see how it would move along the agar. And what I wanted to do then was to relate it in Mexico, in the drug war in Mexico, by creating a map in which I would place the oats in the most important cities involved with drug war in Mexico, and then I would see how Fusarium would move. We started with some tests. The test with the subject number 1 and subject number 2, and we were putting more oats to subject 2, and we were taking away oats to subject number 1 in representation of the power that it's involved always in drug war. Because of these tests, it was decided that we were going to put more oats into the map, or the Mexico map, or the art piece, to have Fusarium constantly growing. And because the result that we got from this test was actually very interesting, because Fusarium was moving and spreading all over the petri dish. No matter what the food was, they were following no patterns at all.
Yes, I'm just remembering. First, we started to with this huge box, cardboard box, and tinfoil, because it was easy to work with. It was available. Yeah, we used a white background because it just seemed natural and easier with the light.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to have a very equal light. But soon we started to build our own box, because we needed the camera to be right above the petri dish.
We started to make some tests also to see what color would fit better to Fusarium, and which one could we use in the time lapse, because white was not the best option. I remember. Yes. You couldn't really see Fusarium. Yeah. We needed a higher contrast. And
yes.
We thought maybe black would work, but also blue.
Mm.
And I remember we also took some pictures with red background.
That was very nice, because we had this big movie poster with all different shades of blue and red and even yellow. And then I remember the next step was to flip the petri dish around
to see other movements of Fusarium, and I mean that led us to test number 3, but it was just a black background. And we just wanted to see how Fusarium was going to move by itself.
And if there is different movement, if the right petri dish, here the smaller one is upside down, and the other one is, not upside down. So I remember it was quite difficult to focus the camera, because even 1 centimeter, and the difference was 1 centimeter, was too much for the lens.
For me, it was better to take the normal one, not the upside one.
Because it's also how we work with Fusarium. We never turn it upside down.
No.
Especially because this is about adding and removing oats, and the oats represent something. So right now I think it might be even better to do it upside down, because all the fluid from the agar is vaporizing while the test is running, and we see this on other tests.
The one that we made with color and light.
Well, and I especially thought with the light cable, we used light cable, and an LED was far away. And I thought it would be better for Fusarium, because there would be less light. There would be only the cities would have little tiny bits of light, and this is it isn't a very good light. It's just low frequencies, and it already went through a cable, so it can't be it isn't like the 50 LEDs we use normally.
The light directly to Viserium.
Yeah. But it didn't work out so nicely.
I was actually worried about how clean the environment would be, because we made a hole in the petri dish, so many other organisms or contamination, bad contamination for Fusarium could got in. That was my worry. Other test was again with subject 1 and subject 2, and we put them both together to see the actual movement of it, and to have a very like a comparison right away of how they were moving. But the time lapse ran a little bit weird, I would say, because one Fusarium was moving faster than the other one, and I wanted to put oats into subject number 2 and remove oats of subject number 1, but because of the first movement that I saw with them, I decided that it was better to put oats to subject number 1 that was weaker, and take away oats of subject number 2 that was strong. It's almost the same test. It happened almost the same. The interesting thing about this one was that at the end, Fusarium was just moving in circles. But it was a test that lasted almost like a week or a week and a half. And you can see how Fusarium is just moving in circles. That's like the nice thing about it, but it's almost the same result as the other one, so we can skip it.
But still, this one was quite interesting, because after some time, Fusarium started to grow in a very, very different pattern. I remember, like in the very last frames, you see really floral and the Fibonacci pattern.
Yeah, exactly.
In it, but I think you see it in both, not only in one.
No, both subjects have that, I think. And for me, the interesting part was that they were starting to go in circles, then go towards the oat, and then go away of the oat, but still remembering where the oat was, but at the same time just going in circles. And we had a little contamination here, but it was, I don't know if it was Fusarium avoiding it, or I don't really know. I even thought about it being stereotypia, the behavior of animals that are just trapped in a cage too long and they run out of things to do. So I think Fusarium got used to the movement of the oats, and at the end it didn't have more food, it didn't have any other place to go, so it started going in circles. But that's just my assumption of what I think about it. And in both, subject 2 started to do it before subject 1, and subject 2 was the one that had less food and less places to move, so it made sense that it would just start going in circles before, and then subject 1 was the one going in circles. So
okay, test 8.
Yeah, we printed Mexico's map. We identified the cities that were mainly involved in the drug dealing business. I think they were around 12 or 13. And then we put it in agar.
Usually you cool down the agar to like 30 or 40 degrees Celsius. And we didn't have in mind that the 3D print would just move, melt, and make weird curves. But actually with a little bit more heat, we could change it back and figure it out.
It was printed 20 centimeters width, and it wasn't that big, but we needed it to be actually smaller because we wanted to do it in a petri dish, not in this container. But I actually think this size worked very well for it.
Well, and then there's also the thing with the lid. The container needs a lid because Physarum tries to escape from the container. You can't leave it open, it dries out.
Or gets contaminated, yeah.
Yep.
And we placed glass. I was really excited about this test, actually, and it's one of my favorites because Fusarium just started to move amazingly. I don't know.
Yeah, I remember we discovered movements of Physarum that we didn't thought of before.
Mm-hmm.
For example, it goes back to places where it already has been, and it does this in a rhythm.
In some places, you can see that it grows stronger, like if it was blooming a little bit to the top, and then goes back again, and then it starts moving again, looking for food. And I really liked it. It went to the top of the glass. We had Fusarium on top of the glass, and yeah, you could see the movement, like you said, like going up and then going down again, and then going up and then going down again. We made test 8.2
Yeah,
because we put some oats on it, but I think it didn't work that well. It was getting molded.
Yes, it got contaminated quite fast. Maybe it was too much liquid.
We had a problem with the steam too, and you can see that in the first test. At the beginning it looks very blurry and then it cleans up, but I still like that test.
Yeah.
It was the first time that I got to see Fusarium in Mexico's map moving and creating connections and just thinking about the country. I can understand why some areas are more chaotic than the other ones. And Fusarium actually shows it.
I think it's quite amazing because, well, we know a lot of time lapses where Fusarium is mapping a country and mapping the street network, applying this concept to a more abstract matter. And I think with the main idea, it's also this is something there is no map about. If people knew where exactly the drugs are distributed or where the drug war is exactly going on, they would try
to. I think they know. I do think they know. They just don't tell.
Yeah.
Or it's a very well kept secret in the whole country by both, I would say, both the government and the people that don't want to get involved too much. We are looking at this problem as if we had no hope. They have the control of the country, and we as citizens of Mexico, we cannot actually do much. We can talk about it, we can try to make things right, and little by little make things right, but I think it's very messed up right now. We have come to a point in which you cannot fight by your own. That's why also this art piece, to show people that we can fight it, that things are gonna get worse, but
or
we have
even
hope.
That you can see it, and there are so many other methods to make a statistic or to make data, to create data, and then there is just then there are things going on in your country where there isn't any data about, but in every other country there is this data, and it's available for the public, easily available for the public, or it's talked about. And then you have this issue and it is a lot in the media. If you try to apply a very simple concept of just adding and removing oats after 2 or 3 months, we were standing in front of this huge problem of not having the right data, of not having the truth, or something that comes close to the truth.
Test number 9, I had high hopes. Test 8 had been so good, and this time we cleaned the glass and we put a little bit of soap on top of it so the steam wouldn't be so obvious on it.
Yes.
It worked. But then we had this a paper fell down on top of it, and we had have the test.
After we left the lab for at night, we usually leave the lab, and half an hour after we left, the paper fell down on the test and ruined the complete test.
Yeah, because we had like half the information. We didn't have exactly how it started. We just have a small pattern of it, the one that we can see. And
And the cut was too great. From before the paper fell on the glass and after. Yes. And then we started to name a test final test.
I remember I put a lot of Fusarium. That's why at the beginning you can see some like white points where Fusarium started, and but started to grow really nice too. And it worked so well that we were able to move to final test 10.2, where I placed the oats in the cities shown. The idea was to keep Fusarium on the coasts of Mexico because the drugs would still be coming, so they would have a lot more power, a lot more food.
I remember seeing here on the top of the map, you see the very thick line or very thick part of the network, and it's not the not a straight line, but it made these many curves in it. And I was wondering about especially this one line, because usually Fusarium only makes these after maybe a week. It makes these thick like bridges over the agar. But here I think it was because we had so many different starting points, and that was when Fusarium was a little bit remembering this is the first meeting point of two different kinds of Fusarium, and this is why it's not it's very
totally
and they only met after a day, but
this test was left 1 day or 2 days. Every 2 days we would change it. We would put more oats or take away oats. So Fusarium had enough time to move, but the connections that it was showing were very strong from the beginning. At the end, we got contamination.
A lot of contamination.
But it helps to the aesthetic point of view.
And here we see far better fighting. I think at some point, especially for me, the topic got very emotional, because reading, especially from Human Rights Watch, what there are writing about it, it's just horrible. And then our own struggle to find the right data about it was, I realized how, this is a cliche, but how good we have it in Germany. I thought when we have data, we rely on this data like it's some kind of religion, like it's a Bible, or this is a fact proven forever, and we can really, really deeply rely and believe in this. And
you run out of possibilities sometimes.
Yeah, but actually, data is only proven, or only proven till it's unproven or disproven. And this what should we do with data then? And this is, I think, our first attempt to give the data. Data is most often about something living or connected to living, or to something living. And so we tried to take a little bit of data which was not living anymore, and with Fusarium we put life back into this little bit of data.
For me, this art piece was more like I don't want to stay quiet. It's probably just a whisper of what is going on in Mexico, because that's how I see it. But I would say that people in Mexico need to start screaming. And even though I'm not screaming with this, I just see it as a whisper, like little by little, we're trying to get somewhere. So this is how I was looking at the art piece. Fusarium worked very well as a medium. It gave me perspectives, and it made me understand the problem in many different levels. And it worked really well, because I do think that the